Good morning. Hello, ladies. It's a pretty day out. You know, I used to make fun of people, and of course, they were all older, who talked about the weather. It's like, God, there's more interesting things to do than talk about the weather. What happened? I never talked about the weather until, it would be like, well, how many layers do we have to put on to go have fun? Now, I'm not saying we didn't do that, but dissecting the humidity and the times of day and how much sun, how much rain, how much water. And of course, back then, gardens weren't as fun to me. I mean, they were interesting and I appreciated them. They were kind of fun, but I didn't rotate any part of my life, emotional life around them like I do now. If I have a tomato plant that doesn't bear fruit, I'm all up in its business. Life is funny. Oh, I wanted to tell you this. I don't know if I shared this with you, but I left it on my makeup table to tell you this is not for the face as far as I'm concerned. I misread the article on it and I was sure it said face and body. No, don't do it. If you're sensitive, which I am, it was irritating all day long. Made my eyes water. All day long. And I had dry patches here in the corners from the Retin-A I was using consistently every night, getting ready for a function, and it that tearing and me wiping my eyes just made it was raw. It was just it was awful. I've had a busy week. How about you? When it rains, it pours. Yeah. I had an amazing day at work yesterday. You know how you have stuff that you save for good and then you have it when you need it? Well, I don't go out like I used to. So when I save things like my good bras, my good socks, my good jeans, my good sweater, or my good makeup, for good, they ended up not getting used. And then they also end up going bad. Yeah. I had such disappointment. I bought Franco Sardas for years. I just loved their style. The fit for me was perfect. And there was a particular heel that I was in love with, that I could wear with slacks and certain dresses. Oh, I just loved it. And they're leather, coated leather, and it was such a thin layer of leather that it was just so supple. Don't get me wrong, I'm not sure that it was vinyl. I was sure it was leather. But anyway, I've had them in storage so long that I hadn't treated them. And when I took them out to see if I could wear them, oh yeah, I could finally wear those shoes. I hadn't been out in so long. And thank you for turning me on to this makeup. That is so great. It really looks like skin. How did Revlon do it? This is 309. I got lucky that I picked out a color that's an exact match. Look at my ears. Look at that match. Okay, so anyway, the leather was cracking, or the coating, vinyl, whatever it was. I was sure. But anyway, so 2 pair out of the 3 wasted. What a shame. Yep. So I don't know. Franco Sarda's not like a top of the line brand, but they're a decent shoe for a mostly fair price. Anyway, when I bought them, they were. Oh, and I know why I bought so many pair. It's because I got them at Nordstrom Rack. That's where I used to get my Uggs, my Birkenstocks, my Franco Sardas. Those are the only shoes I've been loyal to at all in my life. Because every time I get loyal to a tennis shoe, they change it every year, and then they don't fit the same. I won't even maybe wear the same size. The arch isn't in the same place. They're not consistent. And that's, if you know of a tennis shoe that's more consistent, you let me know. Frankie. Gotta get a little grandma's goat hair. My great-great-grandma DeWalt, she had these. I just shaved a week ago, so the goat hairs that come out are nice and easy to tweeze. They're just sticking out all by themselves because my peach hair grows a little slower. Great-great-grandma DeWalt. Oh, bless her. She tried to take care of me for a little while. And you know, talk about bad luck. When I was a kid, I had bad luck. So here I was, I don't know, 3rd, 4th grade maybe. Maybe it's 4th or 5th grade. I don't think it was 6th. Anyway, I got out of a detention center, and my probation officer was trying to find me a place to live. And here's the truth. So here's the truth. I'm not lying. What did I do? Maybe I was out after curfew or something.
Miss April, your show starts in 10 minutes.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Yeah, I gotta get a hurry on. My first client on video is gonna be here soon. So anyway, I think I got picked up for curfew. And, oh, okay. I must have been around 14. And 13. And I got picked up for curfew. And when the cops tried to stop me to question me, I took off running because I knew that there was a curfew, and if they questioned me, they would find out I didn't have a home. And I didn't have the ability as a teenager, I didn't have the ability to think maybe they could help me. My eyes are watering. What I thought was, I don't want to have to explain. I'm sure this is what it was in my head at the time, was I don't want to have to explain to them an authority figure, someone I should look up to, and did. My allergies are going crazy the last few days. That I didn't have a home. I didn't have anywhere to go. And I knew I couldn't tell them where I was staying because it wasn't, those places weren't clean. There was maybe other underage people, there was drinking, there was pot smoking, and maybe some extra stuff. But they sure weren't people who wanted the cops showing up. Especially because I did understand that the people who are letting me stay with them were going to be questioned. And I didn't want them getting a more clear picture of who I was either. I had this fantasy of what they thought of me. And I think a lot of people do that. I think a lot of us have this fantasy of what people think of us. Oh, yeah, anyway, so because I ran, those cops ran after me. And this is small town, Illinois. So, of course, somebody had barbed wire in their backyard, keeping bunnies out of their garden or deer off their trees, something. And I got caught in the barbed wire. My jeans got snagged in. And they picked me up. Running from the law. Gosh, I hadn't thought about that in ages. So, I don't remember where I was going with the story, but I'll finish this little part of it anyway. God, my allergies. What a mess. My eyes won't quit watering. I may have to take an allergy pill today. I haven't had one in about a month. I've been so proud of myself. Been confident in hacking, but I've been using my nasal irrigation once or twice a day. So that's been good. It's been helpful, but it hasn't been perfect. Oh, well. Oh, so anyway, once they caught me, oh my God, what an ordeal. And because it was such a small town and everybody knew my mom, in this particular situation, they didn't give me a real hard time. But they didn't know what to do with me because I had no home address. And there weren't cell phones back then, of course. And there was no landline to find my mom. No updated phone number. And if they did have her phone number, she didn't answer. Or she said she wasn't interested. God, what a nightmare. What a story. Oh, well, there's even more to that because I finally went to court. My mom and dad showed up, excuse me, at separate times. And mom told the judge, oh my God, she was so dramatic. Talking about Kim Kardashian on stage. She looks so beautiful. And she says, I just can't take her anymore. I just can't take her. She ran away, and when she came back, which was not true, she says, I found birth control in her suitcase, which wasn't true because she never came and got me from running away. But what's weird is I may have been on birth control at that time, because Planned Parenthood, you could walk in, fill out your name, address, and phone number, get a little appointment, say hi. They would take your blood pressure, and they would give you a prescription for birth control pills. Planned Parenthood was easy breezy. I was on birth control since I was 15 or 16, just because I was smart. And so it was when she said that, my face turned red, and my heart was broken, because I was like, what kind of mad story is this? Holy cow. And you would not believe this. So it's a small town, and people know, when you live in a small town, people know people who know people. So everybody knows you, basically. If someone says, hey, hi, how are you? What's your name? And you say April, they want to know your last name. They're not asking for your first name. So, yeah, I need more color. I am just going up and down this palette to get this more color. I just think the foundation I'm using right now is just a little too light for my videos. Most of my foundation is, because when I put on foundation that's too dark for my skin, it makes my ears and everything look different. It's just easier to make the color change with powder. And if it's a decent powder, like these are, most of them are. I mean, the only ones I really have trouble with are the ones for acne or dry skin, and I just don't buy those. So anyway, and my dad showed up, and he was in tears. I hadn't seen him for years. I mean, I forgot kind of what he looked like. But he showed up in tears, and he gave me an acorn, and he had a little story behind it. I forgot what it was, something about my strength and how proud he was of me, and he was sorry he couldn't take me because he already had so many kids with his new family, and that there's just been so much drama with everybody that he had to make the hard choice of how to help the most. And he said at the time it was to help that whole family versus me, because I didn't come with just me. I came with the whole drama of my mom, and that they couldn't gamble that it wouldn't be an ordeal. Frankie, stop. And so it was a nightmare. So they ended up putting me in a detention center for juvenile delinquents, where there's a mandatory, I'm pretty sure it was more than 24 hours. Maybe it was a 48-hour hold. And that was to give them time to make sure they had all of your any arrest records and history before they put you in a dorm with everyone else. So you got your food slid under in a slot. The windows had this real thick, like bulletproof glass with a chicken mesh or some kind of wiring in it. So here I was, homeless, living on the streets, and they basically put me in jail on top of that, right? And then, because I was a little shit, I was sarcastic, kind of a street urchin, I really was a little shit. Just kind of mouthy facial expressions. I stayed away from people, and if I said something, I said something kind of smart. It wasn't like totally disrespectful, but it was enough sarcasm. So they ended up putting me in the dorms and put me through this 6-week program, which hardly anybody ever got out in 6 weeks. Plus, they kept me much longer, even though I kept failing phases. As I did start working through them, they got even more persnickety about mine, and I noticed it. So I took them to task and was like, what the hell? And so they were just like, well, we don't know where else to put you. The orphanage had closed down. I was there 2 weeks. Oh, that was it, the whole story of bad luck. So, bad luck. And I had been in the orphanage for maybe a week or less, and it closed down. That's a true story. That's how I got put with my great-great-grandma. And then, believe it or not, the Mary Davis home was like, we just don't know where to put you. So we're keeping you here. I'm like, oh, and my heart just breaks for that little girl that I was, because I was like, why didn't they just tell me instead of try to convince me I was a failure? Remember when I told you everybody's parents would fall in love with me? So, but I would run away. So I had one counselor take me home for a home visit. And she and I were good buddies until she took me home. And when she took me home it was a weekend visit or overnight, just to see how we got along. And I'm telling you, I froze. I was just like, I don't remember exactly, but I remember feeling very uncomfortable. Excuse me. And I'm sure I acted like it. So, just bad luck after bad luck after bad luck. Sometimes it was in the stars, and sometimes it was just other humans being humans, reacting to my humanness. Why am I telling you all this? Well, part of it is because these are things that I haven't talked about very much in my whole lifetime, and they're very interesting. So it's kind of interesting to explore it by with you, my own story. And the other thing is because, excuse me, I think it's very relatable. Maybe not all the circumstances, but the fact that life circumstances, sometimes, that's how he asked me to go outside. He shakes his ears. Okay. Go on. So, when you're a kid and you have bad luck after bad luck, you just keep getting shaped for heartbreak and disappointment. And you accidentally create it because as a kid, that's how the brain operates. So it's this cycle, creating bad situations, expecting bad situations happening, and it doesn't matter if it was good or bad. They kept me in a safe environment in that detention center, but they also kept me with criminals, juvenile delinquents, and I was supposed to believe I was one because they didn't tell me any different. I was a brat. I wasn't great, but all I did was be a homeless kid running from the cops because I was too ashamed to admit I was homeless. And if they asked me where I was staying, I didn't want to have to tell them that. Well, I wasn't gonna. I didn't. And then to be rejected by your parents. Oh, I think I forgot to tell you. So the judge says, she's told her, I found birth control in her suitcase. I'm like, what a big fat lie. that she even saw a suitcase. But the judge says, well, good for her, in front of the whole court. He did not like her at all. You could tell. And I will never forget, because that made me feel comfort. Isn't that funny? Things you remember. So think about a few things that have happened in your past, and then understand that, of course, you have certain behaviors. Of course, you have certain beliefs. But also know those things can change. And I'll tell you more about that next time.